Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within the forest, there lived an elderly man named Samuel. Samuel was known far and wide for his wisdom, and people from neighboring villages often sought his advice. He had a small but cozy cottage on the outskirts of the village, where he spent his days tending to his garden and helping those who came seeking his guidance. One sunny morning, a young man named Ethan arrived at Samuel's cottage. He was in distress, for he had made a series of poor decisions that had left him in a state of despair. Ethan explained his troubles to Samuel, who listened patiently and then said, "I will help you, but on one condition. You must agree to spend a year with me, learning the ways of wisdom and understanding the consequences of your actions." Ethan, desperate for a solution, agreed to the condition. He moved into Samuel's cottage and began his journey of learning. Samuel's wisdom was like a vast ocean, and Ethan was but a tiny boat, setting sail on an endless voyage of knowledge and self-discovery. Over the course of the year, Samuel taught Ethan the importance of thinking before acting, the value of patience, and the need to consider the consequences of his decisions. He shared parables and stories that conveyed deep life lessons and moral values. Ethan absorbed this wisdom like a sponge, and day by day, he transformed into a wiser and more thoughtful individual. One day, while wandering in the forest with Samuel, Ethan came across a wounded bird. He wanted to help the bird, but Samuel stopped him and said, "Before you act, consider the consequences of your actions." They observed the bird for a while and realized it was merely stunned and would recover on its own. It was a simple lesson, but it emphasized the importance of not meddling unnecessarily in the affairs of others. As the year drew to a close, Samuel asked Ethan, "What have you learned?" Ethan replied, "I have learned that wisdom is not just about knowledge, but also about using that knowledge to make better choices. I have learned to think before I act, to be patient, and to consider the consequences of my actions." Samuel nodded with a smile and said, "You have learned well, my young friend. Remember that wisdom is not just a destination, but a lifelong journey. Use your newfound wisdom to make the world a better place." Ethan left Samuel's cottage a changed man, carrying the lessons of wisdom with him. He made amends for his past mistakes, helped others with their problems, and became known in his own right as a wise and thoughtful individual. The village, once known for its strife and troubles, started to flourish with the wisdom that had been passed down from Samuel to Ethan and, in turn, to others. The villagers, too, learned to think before they acted, to be patient, and to consider the consequences of their actions. And so, the small village in the forest, once marred by impulsive decisions and hasty actions, transformed into a haven of wisdom, where people valued the power of thoughtful reflection and making choices that benefited not only themselves, but the greater good. The moral of the story is that wisdom is a journey, not a destination. It is the ability to make sound choices, consider the consequences of one's actions, and use knowledge for the betterment of oneself and others. It reminds us that the path to wisdom requires patience, introspection, and a willingness to learn from our mistakes.